Lieutenant Patrick Irish Remington stood at the front of the briefing room, his weathered face set in a mask of professionalism. The low hum of the UNSC Thermopylae's engines provided a constant backdrop as he gazed at the four soldiers seated before him. Despite their relaxed postures, Irish could see the keen intelligence in their eyes. They were the best of the best, and they knew it. "All right, listen up," Irish began, his voice carrying a hint of his namesake brogue. "We've got new orders, and you're not going to believe this one." He tapped a control, and a holographic display flickered to life, showing a nondescript planet rotating slowly. "This is Novus Arcadia, a colony in the Epsilon Eridani system. Population of about 5,000. Unremarkable in every way, except for one thing." Irish paused, bracing himself for the reaction. "They're reporting dragon attacks." For a moment there was silence. Then, predictably, Private First Class Michael Thompson burst out laughing. "Dragons? Seriously, sir? What's next? Unicorns and fairies?" Corporal Arlie Nas rolled her eyes. "Maybe we should pack some oxygen tanks. Clearly there's not enough O2 on that rock if they're seeing flying lizards." Irish held up a hand, silencing the snickers. "I know how it sounds, but our job isn't to believe or disbelieve. Our job is to investigate and neutralize any threat to the colony." Sergeant Wei Yang, his cybernetic eye whirring as it focused on the hologram, spoke up. "What exactly are we dealing with, sir? What do these dragons look like?" Irish shook his head. "Details are sketchy. The reports mention large, flying creatures breathing fire. Colony defenses have been ineffective." Corporal Mary Valentina, the team's medic and tech expert, frowned. "Fire breathing? That's biologically impossible for any creature we've encountered so far." "Which is why we're going in prepared for anything," Irish replied. "Full combat loadout. I want us ready for everything from hallucinating colonists to actual mythical beasts." He looked each of them in the eye, his gaze stern. "I know this sounds ridiculous. Hell, part of me is still convinced this is some sort of bizarre training exercise. But we're Marines, and we've got a job to do. Any threat to our colonies is a threat to humanity, whether it's got scales or not." Irish straightened, his voice taking on a commanding tone. "Gear up. We drop in 6 hours. Dismissed." As the team filed out, their earlier amusement replaced by professional focus, Irish allowed himself a small sigh. Dragons. In all his years of service, he'd never imagined he'd be giving a briefing like this. He looked back at the slowly rotating hologram of Novus Arcadia. Whatever was waiting for them down there, his team would be ready. Because if there's one thing humans excel at, it's adapting to the impossible. And if it turned out there really were dragons? Well, they'd just have to show these overgrown lizards why humanity was the apex predator of the galaxy. The drop pod slammed into the surface of Novus Arcadia with a bone-jarring thud. Lieutenant Patrick Irish Remington's teeth rattled in his skull, despite the inertial dampeners. As the dust settled, he keyed the release, and the pod's door blew outward with a hiss of escaping pressure. "Status report," Irish barked as he stepped onto alien soil, his powered armor whirring softly with each movement. "All present and accounted for," Sir Sergeant Wei Yang responded, his cybernetic eye scanning the horizon. "No hostiles detected in the immediate vicinity." One by one, the rest of the team emerged from their pods. Corporal Mary Valentina immediately began running atmospheric tests, her medical scanner humming quietly. "Atmosphere is within acceptable parameters," she announced. "No signs of toxins or hallucinogens. Whatever the colonists saw, it wasn't because of bad air." Private First Class Michael Thompson stretched dramatically, his armor servos whining in protest. "Well, I don't know about you guys, but I don't see any dragons. Maybe we can wrap this up quickly and head home." Corporal Arlie Nas smacked Thompson on the back of his helmet. "Stay focused, rookie. We haven't even reached the colony yet." Irish allowed himself a small smile at their banter before refocusing on the mission. "All right, people, colony's 2 clicks north. Move out and keep your eyes peeled." As they marched, the squad couldn't help but marvel at the alien landscape. Novus Arcadia was a terraforming project in progress, a patchwork of Earth-like forests interspersed with patches of exotic, alien flora. Massive fern-like plants towered overhead, their fronds shimmering with an iridescent sheen. In the distance, a herd of what looked like six-legged deer grazed peacefully. "You know," Thompson mused, "I'm starting to think dragons wouldn't be out of place here. Place looks like something out of a fantasy vid." Yang grunted in agreement. "It's beautiful, but don't let your guard down. Beauty often hides danger in places like this." As they crested a hill, the colony came into view in the valley below, or rather, what was left of it. The team froze, their earlier skepticism evaporating in an instant. Entire sections of the prefab buildings were crushed or burned. Deep gouges marred the earth, as if carved by enormous claws. Smoke still rose from several locations, testament to recent destruction. And there, in the center of the devastation, lay the unmistakable form of a massive, scaled creature. "Holy shit," Thompson whispered, his voice tight with disbelief. Language Irish admonished automatically, but his own voice was strained. He keyed his calm, his eyes never leaving the colossal corpse. "Command, this is Fire Team Legio 4. We have visual confirmation of a dragon, sir. Repeat, we have a confirmed dragon sighting. The colony has sustained heavy damage." There was a long pause before the reply came. "Copy that, Legio 4. Proceed with caution. Gather what intel you can and secure any survivors. Support assets are on standby if needed." Irish acknowledged the order, then turned to his team. Their faces, visible through their helmet visors, showed a mix of shock, fear, and determination. "Well, folks," Irish said, his voice steady despite the surreal situation, "looks like we owe the colonists an apology. Valentina, Yang, I want a perimeter sweep. Check for survivors and any signs of more hostiles. Thompson, Nas, you're with me. We're going to take a closer look at our scaly friend down there." As the team split up, Irish felt a growing sense of unease. They had come prepared for anything, or so they thought. But staring at the corpse of a creature that shouldn't exist, he realized that anything might be more than they bargained for. Whatever had killed this dragon was still out there, and Irish had a sinking feeling that their mission was about to get a lot more complicated. "Keep sharp," people he warned as they approached the fallen creature. "Something tells me this is just the beginning." The colony was a ghost town. As Fire Team Legio 4 moved through the wreckage, the eerie silence was broken only by the crunch of debris under their armored boots. Smoke still curled from several buildings, and the acrid smell of burnt plastics and metals permeated the air. Life signs detected. Corporal Mary Valentina announced suddenly, her medical scanner pinging insistently. "Underground. Looks like the colonists retreated to the emergency bunkers." Lieutenant Patrick Irish Remington nodded, a small relief washing over him. At least some had survived. "Good work, Valentina. Yang, Thompson, secure the bunker entrance. Nas, you're with me, and Valentina. We're going to check out our scaly friend." As they approached the fallen dragon, the sheer scale of the creature became apparent. It was easily the size of a dropship, its iridescent scales shimmering even in death. "Sweet Mother of Mercy," Nas whispered, her usual stoicism cracking. "What could have taken this thing down?" Valentina knelt by the creature's massive head, her scanner whirring. "Ballistic trauma. High-caliber rounds, probably from the colony's defense turrets. But look at this hide, it would take sustained fire to penetrate." Irish was about to respond when Yang's voice crackled over the comm. "Sir, we've made contact with the colonists. They're requesting immediate evac. They say there's more coming." As if on cue, an ear-splitting roar shattered the air. The ground trembled as a shadow passed overhead. "Contact," Thompson's voice was tight with panic. "Multiple airborne hostiles incoming. There. Oh God, they're huge." Irish's training kicked in instantly. "Fall back to the defensive positions. Weapons free, people. Looks like we've got ourselves a dragon hunt." As the squad scrambled for cover, the sky darkened with the silhouettes of approaching dragons. They were majestic and terrifying in equal measure, their wings spanning lengths that dwarfed any earth-flying creature. Scales of various hues, emerald, sapphire, ruby, caught the alien sunlight, creating a deadly light show. "I count at least 5," Yang reported, his cybernetic eye whirring as it tracked the incoming threats. Possibly more incoming. "Conserve your ammo," Irish ordered, hefting his heavy railgun. "Wait for my signal." The dragons circled once, twice, as if sizing up their prey. Then, with another bone-shaking roar, they dove. Open fire. The air filled with the staccato rhythm of gunfire as Fireteam Legio 4 unleashed everything they had. Irish's railgun punched holes through scaled hides, each shot accompanied by a thunderous crack. Naz and Thompson worked in tandem, their assault rifles spitting streams of armor-piercing rounds. A dragon, its scales a deep crimson, swooped low, jaws open wide. A gout of flame erupted from its maw, turning the ground to glass. "Evasive maneuvers," Irish shouted, rolling to avoid the intense heat. "Valentina, status on those colonists?" "Working on it," Saoirse replied, her voice strained as she split her attention between fighting and coordinating with the bunker. "They're preparing for emergency evac, but they need time." Time was something they were quickly running out of. For every dragon they managed to wound or drive off, another seemed to take its place. The sky was thick with the beasts now, their roars deafening, their flames turning the battlefield into a hellish inferno. Irish gritted his teeth as he reloaded his railgun. They were trained to face the impossible, but this was beyond anything they could have prepared for. Dragons, actual fire-breathing dragons. If they survived this, no one would ever believe them. As he lined up another shot, a realization hit him. They didn't need to kill all the dragons. They just needed to hold out long enough for the colonists to evacuate. "New plan," he shouted over the din of battle. "Concentrate fire on any dragon that gets close to the bunker. We're buying time, people." The squad adjusted their tactics, forming a protective ring around the bunker entrance. They fought with everything they had, each of them pushing their training and equipment to the limit. And somehow, against all odds, they held the line. Hours seemed to pass, though Irish's HUD told him it had only been 20 minutes. His armor was scorched, his muscles aching, but still he fought on. They all did. Then, just as it seemed they couldn't hold out any longer, Valentina's voice cut through the chaos. "Sir, the colonists are clear. Emergency shuttles are away." Irish allowed himself a moment of fierce pride in his team before barking out new orders. "Fall back to extraction point Alpha. Move, 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 move." As Fireteam Legio 4 retreated, dragons hot on their heels, Irish keyed his long-range comm. "Command, this is Legio 4 actual. Colony is lost, but civilians evacuated. Requesting immediate fire support and extraction. Be advised, hostiles are dragons. Yes, actual bloody dragons. How copy?" The response was immediate, and Irish could have sworn he heard a note of disbelief in the operator's voice. "Copy that, Legio 4. Support is inbound, ETA 10 minutes. Hold position and prepare for extraction." Irish turned to his team, taking in their battered but unbroken stance. "You heard them, Marines. We've got 10 minutes to show these overgrown lizards why humanity is the apex predator. Let's make it count." As they dug in for one last stand, Irish couldn't help but feel a surge of adrenaline. They had faced the impossible and held their ground. Whatever came next, Fireteam Legio 4 would be ready. The sky above Novus Arcadia had turned into a maelstrom of fire and scales. Fireteam Legio 4 held their position at the extraction point, a rocky outcropping that provided some cover from aerial attacks. But with each passing minute, the dragons grew bolder, their attacks more frequent and ferocious. Lieutenant Patrick Irish Remington's railgun cracked again, the hypervelocity round punching through a dragon's wing. The creature shrieked, spiraling away, trailing ichor. But for every dragon they grounded, two more seemed to take its place. "Ammo check," Irish barked, slamming a fresh power cell into his weapon. The responses came back, each more dire than the last. 2 mags left Thompson, his usual bravado replaced by grim determination. "Half a belt," Sir Yang, his cybernetic eye glowing as it tracked multiple targets. 3 grenades and some harsh language Naz, her armor scorched but her aim still true. Medical supplies running low, but still in the fight. Valentina, splitting her time between combat and keeping the team patched up. Irish gritted his teeth. They were chewing through ammo faster than expected, and the dragon showed no signs of letting up. He keyed his long-range comm, praying it would punch through the atmospheric interference. Command, this is Fire Team Legio 4. We are heavily engaged with multiple hostile xenofauna, designation Dragon requesting immediate fire support and resupply. How copy? Static hissed for a heart-stopping moment before a reply crackled through. Copy that, Legio 4. Support is inbound, ETA 15 minutes. Hold the line. 15 minutes. It might as well have been an eternity. You heard them, Marines Irish shouted, his voice carrying over the din of battle. We've got 15 minutes to make these dragons regret ever messing with humanity. Let's show them why we're the apex predators. With renewed determination, Fire Team Legio 4 dug in. They had a point to prove, and they'd be damned if they'd let a bunch of overgrown lizards get the better of them. Thompson and Nas worked in tandem, calling out targets and covering each other's blind spots. Their assault rifles chattered in controlled bursts, each shot carefully placed to conserve ammo. Yang had taken up a sniper position, his augmented eye allowing him to track and predict the dragon's erratic flight patterns. Every few seconds, his high-powered rifle would crack, and another dragon would fall from the sky. Valentina was everywhere at once, her medical training put to the test, as she patched up injuries almost as fast as they occurred. Burns, cuts, even a dislocated shoulder from a near miss with a dragon's tail, she handled it all with practiced efficiency. And through it all, Irish led from the front. His railgun was a constant presence, its thunderous reports a reassuring counterpoint to the dragon's roars. When he wasn't firing, he was calling out orders, coordinating the team's efforts, and keeping morale high. But as the minutes ticked by, the situation grew increasingly dire. Ammunition ran low and the dragons, seemingly endless in number, pressed their attack with increasing ferocity. Last mag, Thompson shouted, his voice strained as he slammed home his final clip. Nas was already down to her sidearm, picking her shots with deadly precision. If this is how we go out, she said between bursts, it's been an honor serving with you all. Yang grunted as he fired his last round, the high-powered shot taking a dragon through its eye. He hefted his now empty rifle like a club. Save the eulogies for later. We're not dead yet. Irish's railgun had long since overheated, its barrel glowing an angry red. He drew his combat knife, the monomolecular edge gleaming. As the dragons pressed their attack and ammunition ran critically low, Irish realized they needed to change tactics. All right, people. Looks like we're doing this the old-fashioned way. Fix bayonets. But Thompson had a glint in his eye. Sir, permission to go full medieval on these overgrown lizards. Irish raised an eyebrow. Granted, but what exactly do you have in mind, Thompson? With a grin, Thompson reached behind his back and unsheathed a gleaming longsword. The blade hummed with a faint energy field. Standard issue for dragon slaying, sir. Never leave the ship without it. Not to be outdone, Nas produced a compact battle axe from her gear. With a flick of her wrist, the handle extended and the axe head crackled with electricity. Thought this might come in handy, she said with a smirk. Irish couldn't help but laugh. I'll be damned. All right, team, let's show these dragons what humanity's made of. Melee weapons free. As the next wave of dragons descended, Fire Team Legio 4 charged to meet them. What followed was a blur of violence that would have made their ancient ancestors proud. Irish leapt onto the back of a dragon, driving his knife deep into the base of its skull. The creature's death throes sent them both crashing to the ground, but he rolled to his feet, already looking for his next target. Thompson's sword sang through the air, its energy field allowing it to slice through dragon scales like butter. He moved with a grace that belied his bulky armor, parrying claws with the flat of his blade before delivering killing blows. Just like the simulations, he shouted, his earlier bravado returning in full force. Nas was a whirlwind of destruction with her battle axe. The electrified edge sent shocks through the dragon's nervous systems, stunning them long enough for her to deliver crushing blows. I think I'm starting to enjoy this. She called out, her usual stoicism replaced by fierce joy. Yang, using his augmented strength, grappled with dragons bare-handed before finishing them off with precise strikes from his combat knife. His armor was scored and dented, but the man inside seemed unstoppable. Valentina darted between her comrades, her medical kit in one hand and a plasma pistol in the other. She alternated between administering combat stims and firing off shots at vulnerable points on the dragons. The dragons, for all their size and ferocity, seemed bewildered by this change in tactics. They had adapted to the humans' ranged weapons, but this close-quarters brutality was something new. For a moment, the tide of battle seemed to turn. Irish watched his team with fierce pride. They had taken an impossible situation and turned it on its head, adapting in true human fashion. As he parried a dragon's snapping jaws with his armored forearm before plunging his knife into its eye, he allowed himself a grim smile. "Command's never going to believe this," he muttered. Just then, the sky lit up with the unmistakable glow of orbital bombardment. Dragons screeched in panic as pinpoint strikes rained down around the embattled Marines. "Cavalry's here," Irish shouted, allowing himself a moment of relief. As dropships roared in, disgorging fresh troops and much-needed supplies, Fireteam Legio 4 stood tall amidst the carnage they had wrought. They were battered, exhausted, and running on nothing but stims and adrenaline. But they were alive, and the dragons were running. Thompson leaned on his sword, its energy field dimmed but still humming softly. "So think we can get these added to standard loadout, sir?" Irish looked at the sword, then at the carnage around them, and laughed. "After this, Thompson, I think you might have just revolutionized modern warfare. Again." The dust settled slowly over the battlefield, revealing a landscape transformed. Where once there had been a thriving colony, now there was only devastation and the bodies of countless dragons. Fireteam Legio 4 stood amidst the chaos, their armor dented and scorched, but still standing. As reinforcements secured the area, medics rushed to attend to the battered Marines. Lieutenant Patrick Irish Remington watched as a dropship touched down nearby, disgorging fresh troops and equipment. He felt a mix of emotions: relief at their survival, pride in his team's performance, and a lingering disbelief at what they had just experienced. "I can't believe we actually survived that, Private First Class," Michael Thompson said, his usual smirk replaced by a look of stunned disbelief as he stared at the dragon corpses littering the ground. Corporal Arlie Nas punched him lightly on the shoulder. "Believe it, and don't forget you owe me those drinks." Sergeant Wei Yang surveyed the carnage, his cybernetic eye whirring as it catalogued the destruction. "Command's going to have a field day with this report. Dragons, who would have thought?" Corporal Mary Valentina was already moving among the dragon corpses, her scientific curiosity overriding her exhaustion. The biological implications of this are staggering. An alien species that so closely resembles Earth mythology. The xenobiologists are going to go crazy. Irish watched his team with a mixture of pride and concern. They had faced the impossible and come out on top, but at what cost? The physical wounds would heal, but the mental scars of facing down creatures out of legend, that was another matter entirely. "All right, listen up," he said, drawing his squad's attention. "We've got a job to finish. Nas, Yang, I want you coordinating with the reinforcements. Set up a perimeter and make sure there are no dragon stragglers or nests nearby. Thompson, help Valentina with documenting these creatures. We need all the data we can get." As the team moved to carry out their orders, Irish keyed his comm to contact the orbiting ships. "Command, this is Legio 4 actual. Area is secure, but we're going to need a lot more than body bags for cleanup. Requesting xenobiology team and heavy lift capacity." "Copy that," Legio 4 came the reply. "Good work down there. Stand by for debrief." Irish sighed, looking out over the alien landscape. The adrenaline was wearing off, and the full weight of what they'd accomplished was starting to sink in. They had fought dragons actual, fire-breathing dragons, and lived to tell the tale. As he watched a dropship descend with supplies and reinforcements, Irish allowed himself a small smile. They had one hell of a story to tell. Now, they just needed proof to back it up. "Thompson, Valentina," he called out. "Grab some cutting tools. We're taking a souvenir home." Hours later, as the twin suns of Novus Arcadia began to set, Fire Team Legio 4 gathered near their dropship. Behind them, secured by heavy chains, was their trophy, the severed head of one of the largest dragons they had faced. Irish looked at his team, taking in their exhausted but proud expressions. I know we're all tired, but I want to say this now, while it's fresh. What we did here today, it was extraordinary. We faced something out of myth and legend, something we were never trained for, and we came out on top. Each one of you performed above and beyond the call of duty. He paused, making eye contact with each of them. But this isn't over. What we've discovered here, it changes everything. There could be more colonies out there facing similar threats. We might be called upon to do this again. If that's the case, Sir Yang said, his voice firm, then I say bring it on. We've proven we can handle it. The others nodded in agreement, a newfound confidence evident in their postures. Irish smiled. That's what I like to hear. Now let's get this oversized lizard head loaded up. I can't wait to see the looks on the brass's faces when we present our evidence. Thank you so much for listening to this story. I hope you loved it. Please remember to subscribe if you did like it so you can see more videos like this. And please give us a like and a comment too. I'll see you in the next one.